Mira was only 12 years old, but she acted like a grown-up. She cooked, cleaned, folded clothes, and still smiled when her father came home. Every time her father, Rohit, visited from his work trips, Mira looked like the happiest girl in the world. Rohit believed his daughter was living a good life. After all, he had married Kavita 2 years ago, so Mira could have a mother again. He thought Kavita would care for Mira like her own daughter. And Mira never complained. She never cried in front of him. She always said, "I'm fine, Papa." But the truth was very different. When Rohit left for work, the smile on Mira's face disappeared. As soon as the front door closed, Kavita's soft tone turned sharp. Her eyes were cold. "Go clean the bathroom, and then wash the dishes. No breakfast for you until everything is done," she would snap. Mira nodded silently. She had learned not to argue. Whenever she protested, Kavita would say, "You're lucky to have a roof over your head. Don't expect anything more." Kavita's own daughter, Anya, just 1 year older than Mira, did nothing. Anya got hot food, pretty dresses, and hugs. Mira got nothing but work. In front of neighbors or relatives, Kavita pretended to be the perfect mother. She'd say, "Mira is such a quiet, obedient girl." She made sure Mira never said a word about the truth. One evening, when Mira was mopping the floor, she felt dizzy. Her vision blurred, and her legs became weak. She collapsed near the sofa. Kavita looked at her for a second, then said coldly, "Don't act. Get up and finish the work. Don't waste time." Mira tried to get up, but her arms were trembling. She had not eaten all day. Her stomach hurt. Her hands had small cuts from washing sharp steel utensils. Her back ached from bending too much. But she didn't cry. She had learned that tears changed nothing. At school, Mira remained quiet. Her teachers noticed she looked tired, but no one asked questions. She was often the last to leave because she didn't want to go home. Home didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a place of punishment. Her only safe place was the small balcony where she sat at night, under the stars, and whispered to the moon. "Why doesn't anyone see me?" she would ask. "Why doesn't Papa know?" She started writing in a tiny notebook. She called it her truth diary. She wrote about the things Kavita did, the words that hurt, the work she had to do every day. She wrote about missing her real mom, who had died when she was just 6. She didn't write to complain. She just wanted someone, even a diary, to know her pain. One morning, while she was sweeping the floor, Kavita's friend visited. "Your stepdaughter is so sweet," the friend said. Kavita smiled and replied, "Oh yes, she's like my own. I love her so much." Mira stood silently nearby, holding a dirty mop and biting her lip. After the guest left, Kavita looked at Mira and whispered, "Say one word to anyone, and you'll regret it." Mira stared down at her feet. Her tiny toes were red and sore from standing too long on cold floors. She wanted to run away, but where would she go? She wanted to tell her father, but would he believe her? "Papa loves Kavita, Auntie," she thought. "What if he thinks I'm lying?" And so she kept quiet. She cleaned, cooked, folded clothes, and wiped tears when no one was looking. She smiled when Rohit called on the phone. "Yes, Papa. I'm eating well. Yes, school is good," she lied every time. But something inside her had started to break. Slowly, silently. Then came her birthday. Mira was excited. She hoped this day would be different. Maybe Kavita would be kind. Maybe there would be cake, or at least a small gift. Maybe Papa would surprise her. But when she woke up, Kavita said coldly, "No school today. You have to wash all the curtains. And don't ask for anything special. You're not a guest here." Mira's heart sank. She had never felt more invisible. Later that evening, she went to her small corner in the balcony and opened her diary again. She wrote, "Today is my birthday." But no one remembered. Not even Papa. Maybe I really don't matter. She didn't know that something big was coming. something that would change everything. A surprise her father had planned without telling anyone. A surprise that would soon bring out all the truth. And when it happened, no one in that house would ever forget it. Mira woke up the next morning feeling heavy. Her eyes were swollen from crying the night before. Her birthday had passed just like any other day. No cake, no gift, no call from her father. Nothing. Just more work, more silence, more pain. Kavita walked into the room with her usual angry face. Stop dreaming. Go clean the bathroom, and after that, make breakfast. I want hot parathas, not your dry rotis, she snapped. Mira quietly got up from the mat on the floor. She folded her thin blanket and went to the kitchen. Her stepmother's daughter, Anya, was still sleeping on the bed with soft pillows and warm sheets. Mira looked at her for a moment. Same age, same house, but completely different lives. Kavita treated Anya like a princess. Every weekend, she took her shopping and bought her new clothes. Anya always got the biggest share of food. Mira? She got leftovers, sometimes nothing. If she ever dared to speak up, Kavita would shout, "You are lucky we even let you stay here." One afternoon, while Mira was scrubbing the kitchen floor, Anya threw a juice glass on purpose and said, "Clean that, Maid." She laughed and walked away. Mira looked up, her hands full of soap water, but she didn't say a word. She just cleaned it silently. The worst part, no one knew. When relatives visited, Kavita acted like a loving mother. She would say, "Mira is very shy, but such a good child. She helps with everything." In front of others, she even put an arm around Mira and smiled for pictures. Behind closed doors, that smile disappeared. Sometimes the neighbors saw Mira doing hard work. One auntie even saw Mira carrying heavy water buckets. "Why is this little girl doing all the work?" she asked once. "Oh, she insists on helping," Kavita replied sweetly. "She's a good girl." The neighbor believed her. After all, Kavita looked and spoke like a kind mother. Who would imagine what happened inside that house? At night, Mira would sit by the window, writing her thoughts. Her diary had become her only friend. She wrote things she couldn't say aloud. "I feel like I don't exist. Why doesn't Papa call me anymore? I miss Mama. She never let me cry like this." She tore out one page and folded it small, placing it under her pillow. She wished someone could read her words, someone who would understand. But that hope didn't last. One day, Kavita found the diary while cleaning Mira's bedding. She opened it and read a few lines. Her face turned red with anger. She shouted, "So you want to make me look bad, huh? You think this will help you?" She ripped the diary into pieces. Mira stood frozen as her only safe place was destroyed in front of her. That night, Mira didn't eat dinner. Kavita didn't care. Later, as she lay in her corner, Mira whispered, "Papa, please come home. Please." Across the city, in a quiet hotel room, Rohit looked at his daughter's photo on his phone. He had been working long hours, trying to save money for the family. He believed everything was fine at home. Mira always said she was okay. But something inside him felt strange. He looked at the calendar. Mira's birthday had just passed. Why didn't she sound happy? He thought. That night, Rohit made a decision. He would go home. But this time, without telling anyone. He wanted to surprise Mira. Little did he know, this surprise would uncover the biggest truth of his life. It was early morning when Rohit stood at the gate of his house. He had come one day earlier than planned, without calling, without warning. His heart was full of excitement. He smiled as he imagined Mira's face. He thought she would run to him, hug him tightly, and tell him about her birthday. But what he saw instead made his heart stop. From outside the gate, he noticed Mira sweeping the front yard. Her hands looked weak. Her face was pale. She looked tired, much older than her 12 years. Her hair was messy. Her clothes were too loose and old. And yet, she was working like a maid. Alone. Before he could call her name, He heard a loud voice. "Hurry up. You're so slow. The floor inside is still dirty." It was Kavita. She stepped outside with a steel bowl in her hand and threw some water angrily near Mira's feet. "Don't just stand there like a statue." Rohit froze. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. His wife, the woman he trusted, was shouting at his daughter like she was some servant. His Mira, his little girl. He quickly stepped back, hiding behind a tree. He didn't want anyone to know he was there. Not yet. He watched silently as Mira wiped her face with the end of her old dupatta and quietly said, "Yes, Auntie. Auntie." Rohit's eyes widened. She didn't call her Mummy or even Kavita Auntie. Just Auntie. That word held so much distance, so much pain. He didn't go inside. He walked away slowly and sat in his car down the road, his heart racing. He was in shock. What had happened to his house? Why had Mira never told him the truth? He waited outside the house all day, watching. From his car window, he saw more things. Things that broke him. He saw Mira washing clothes in the cold water while Anya played on her phone. He saw Kavita giving a full plate of food to Anya, while Mira ate alone in the kitchen corner with just dry bread. He saw Mira trying to sew her torn school bag with shaking hands. And no one helped her. No one cared. In the evening, Rohit saw Kavita's friend visit again. Kavita welcomed her warmly, saying, "Anya is doing so well in school. And Mira helps with everything like a daughter." Rohit's blood boiled. He realized Mira had been hiding the truth from him. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she didn't want to hurt him. "She was protecting me, while I failed to protect her," he whispered to himself. At night, he walked to the window at the back of the house, near Mira's small corner. There she was, sitting alone with her knees hugged close, looking up at the stars. He heard her whisper, "Please, God, I just want Papa to come, just for one day. I miss him." Rohit felt tears roll down his cheeks. That was it. He stood up, walked straight to the front door, and knocked hard. Inside, Kavita opened the door, surprised. "Rohit, you didn't tell us," she started to say. "Where is Mira?" he asked, his voice cold. Kavita smiled nervously. "She must be sleeping. She's tired. She's always helping me." "Helping you? Or serving you?" he snapped. Kavita's smile vanished. She tried to speak again, but Rohit pushed past her and walked into the house. "Mira," he called. Mira ran in from the back, shocked to see her father. Her eyes filled with tears. "Papa." He hugged her tightly. "No more lies," he said, holding her face. "I saw everything." "I know." Kavita stood frozen. Her world had just started to crumble. Rohit looked at her with fire in his eyes. "You treated my daughter like a maid in her own home. How dare you?" Mira gripped her father's hand, still not believing he was really there. Finally, her silence had broken. Her truth was out, and someone was listening. But this was just the beginning. What Rohit would do next, no one could have guessed. Mira sat close to her father, still holding his hand tightly, like she was afraid he would disappear again. Rohit gently brushed her hair away from her face and whispered, "You don't have to live like this anymore. I'm here now." Mira's eyes filled with more tears. This time, tears of hope. Kavita stood nearby, silent but furious. She tried to explain, "You're misunderstanding, Rohit." She never said anything. She was always quiet. Maybe she didn't like me, but "You don't have to hurt someone to hear the truth," Rohit said sharply. "You can see it. In her face. In her hands. In her eyes." He turned to Mira. "Why didn't you tell me, Beta? Why did you hide all this pain?" Mira lowered her head. "I didn't want to make you sad. You were working so hard for us." Those words cut deeper than anything else. My little girl was suffering, and still thinking about me, Rohit whispered to himself. That night, everything changed. Rohit didn't leave Mira's side. He made her favorite food, sat beside her, and listened to everything. She told him about her diary, her birthday, the nights she cried alone, and how she missed her mother every single day. "I thought I was invisible," she said softly. "No," Rohit replied, holding her face. "You are the light of my life, and I'm ashamed I didn't see the darkness around you." The next morning, Rohit called his lawyer. He didn't waste time. He decided to transfer the house to Mira's name. He also made it clear that Kavita had no rights over her anymore. He gave her a choice: either treat Mira with respect or leave the house. Kavita was shocked. "You're choosing her over me." "No," Rohit said calmly. "I'm choosing right over wrong." She screamed, cried, and tried to argue. But Rohit stood firm. Later that day, he took Mira shopping for the first time in years. She chose a pink dress. He bought her a new diary. They ate ice cream on the roadside, like they used to when her mother was alive. For the first time in a long time, Mira smiled without fear. The neighbors began noticing the change too. One auntie asked Mira, "You look different. Happy. What happened?" She simply said, "My papa came home." That one sentence carried 1,000 stories. In the following weeks, Rohit spent more time at home. He helped Mira with schoolwork, taught her how to ride a bicycle again, and filled the house with laughter. One night, as Mira sat in her new room, no longer a cold corner, she opened her new diary and wrote, "I am no longer invisible. I am not a maid. I am my father's daughter, and I matter." She placed the diary on the table and looked at the stars outside her window. This time, she didn't whisper for help. She smiled, because help had come. And the biggest promise of all, her father would never leave her side again. News of what happened inside Rohit's house didn't stay quiet for long. Neighbors who once smiled politely at Kavita now started whispering behind her back. The auntie next door who used to bring sweets stopped coming. The uncle across the street, who always praised Anya, now looked at her with quiet judgment. Everyone had seen Mira working silently for years, but they had never asked questions. Now they felt guilty. One day, as Rohit stepped outside with Mira to go to school, an old woman from the lane stopped them. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "I saw your girl cleaning the stairs every morning. I should have said something. I'm sorry, Vita." Mira smiled softly. "It's okay. You're saying something now." Rohit held her hand tighter. He was proud, not because people were talking, but because Mira was holding her head high. Inside the house, Kavita was no longer in control. The maid who once helped her quit, saying she couldn't bear to see the child treated like that. Anya, now confused and embarrassed, started avoiding Mira. The house that once ignored Mira's silence now echoed with shame. One day, Mira was sitting in her room when she heard Kavita's voice outside her door. "Can I come in?" Kavita asked. Mira didn't answer for a moment. Then she nodded quietly. Kavita stepped in, her eyes full of guilt. She didn't wear her usual proud smile. She looked smaller, older. "I didn't know how much pain I was giving you, until your father saw it," she said, her voice shaking. "I treated you unfairly. I know that now." Mira looked at her but said nothing. I just thought if I kept you busy, you wouldn't miss your mother so much. But I went too far. I made you feel unwanted." "You didn't make me feel." Mira finally spoke, her voice calm but strong. "You showed me I wasn't wanted." Those words hit Kavita harder than any slap. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Rohit was listening from a hallway. He didn't walk in. He wanted this moment to be Mira's. After a long silence, Mira said, "Saying sorry doesn't fix everything. But maybe now I know it was never my fault." That night, Mira sat at the dinner table, not serving food, but eating with her father, across from him like an equal. Rohit placed the biggest piece of paneer on her plate and smiled, "For my strongest girl." She giggled, the sound of her laughter filling the home like sunshine. Meanwhile, Rohit made another decision. He joined the local parents group at Mira's school and spoke up about child neglect. He told Mira's story, not to embarrass her, but to protect other kids like her. "We often think silence means everything is okay," he told the group. "But sometimes silence hides pain." Other parents began checking in on their children more. One mother even cried, realizing she had left her own stepchild out of family photos for years. The ripple effect had started. Mira's pain had created awareness. Her courage had opened eyes. And Rohit, he had become the father every child deserved. Not perfect, but present. A year passed. Mira had grown taller. Her smile was brighter, and her voice no longer trembled when she spoke. She was no longer afraid to laugh, to ask questions, or to dream. Her father, Rohit, kept every promise he made. He was there for every school event, every parent-teacher meeting, and every small moment she used to face alone. One afternoon, Mira was invited to give a short speech at her school's annual function. She was chosen to talk about the importance of family. At first, she was nervous. She had never spoken on a stage before. Rohit held her hand backstage. "Just speak from your heart," he whispered. She walked to the podium, her heart beating fast. The hall was full, teachers, students, and parents. Kavita was also there, sitting quietly in the back, beside Rohit. Mira looked at the crowd and took a deep breath. "My name is Mira," she began. "I live with my father, and I used to live with my stepmother too." The crowd grew silent. "For a long time, I thought family meant people you live with. But now I know family means people who see you, who hear you, and who stand by you." Her voice shook, but she kept going. "There was a time I felt like I didn't matter. I cooked, cleaned, and stayed quiet. I thought that was love, but it wasn't." She looked towards her father. "Then one day, my papa came home and saw everything. He saw me." Tears filled Rohit's eyes. He wasn't the only one. Many people in the audience wiped their eyes quietly. "I learned something very important," Mira continued. "Sometimes, the people who are supposed to love you forget how. But that doesn't mean you are wrong. It just means they need to learn again." She paused, looked around the room, then ended with a smile. "I used to be invisible. Now I am not. And I want every child here to remember, you deserve love. Real love." The hall burst into applause. After the event, many teachers came forward to praise her. Parents came to Rohit and shared how deeply her words touched them. Kavita stayed quiet, but when Mira passed by her, she stood up. "You made me see myself clearly today," she said. "And you made me want to change." Mira nodded. She didn't say much, but in her heart, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. That night, Rohit and Mira sat on the terrace. The stars above were quiet, but comforting. "You know, when you were born, your mother and I used to dream about days like this," Rohit said softly. "You standing strong, speaking your truth." Mira looked up. "I think she's proud of me." "I know she is," he replied, holding her close. Mira opened her diary and wrote her final line for the day. "Some scars stay, but they don't have to hurt forever. Sometimes they teach you how strong you really are." And with that, the circle closed. Not with revenge, not with hate, but with healing. The morning sun entered through the window, gently waking Mira from her sleep. But this morning was different. She didn't wake up with fear. She didn't wait for someone to call her to the kitchen. She didn't feel invisible. She sat up on her soft bed, stretched her arms, and smiled. Downstairs, the smell of fresh breakfast filled the house. But for the first time in years, Mira hadn't cooked it. Rohit stood in the kitchen, wearing an apron and flipping parathas. He hummed a tune from an old song he used to sing to Mira when she was little. As Mira walked down, he turned and said, "Good morning, princess. Breakfast is ready." She laughed, covering her mouth. "Papa, you burnt the paratha again." Rohit smiled. "That's what love tastes like sometimes, crispy on the outside, warm on the inside." They sat together at the table. No shouting, no orders, no tears, just peace. Across the table, Kavita sat silently. She didn't try to control the moment. She watched it. She had changed too. Not completely, but she was trying. She had started attending therapy, joining family sessions with Mira and Rohit. She apologized not just with words, but actions. She even helped Mira with a school project last week. Trust wasn't fully back, but the healing had begun. After breakfast, Mira grabbed her diary, the same one where she used to write her pain. Now she used it to write her dreams. She walked outside, stood on the porch, and felt the fresh air on her face. She looked around. The same house, but everything felt new. A group of children passed by, waving at her. "Hi, Mira Didi." She waved back, her heart warm. Then she looked at the old tree in their yard. She remembered once sitting under it, crying alone. But now, she wanted to plant something there. A new tree, maybe a flower plant. She got a small pot, filled it with soil, and placed a tiny seed in it. As she watered it, her father walked over and stood beside her. "What are you planting?" he asked. "A new beginning," Mira said. They both looked at the small seed, hidden under the soil. One day, it would grow tall, just like her. The camera slowly pulled back, showing the full house, filled with new energy, new love, and new hope. And Mira's soft voice echoed in the background.